Eddie's rocking out this week. We're live. All right, we're going to be talking about home prices. You know, are they going to be coming down 20%? We're going to be getting into an article that says that they will be going down 20%. We're also going to be talking to a friend of mine from South Florida. You guys have seen her before, and we'll have her on the stream in just a second because I have to do a little PSA. If you're new to this channel, this is a live stream. So that means that I have a conversation with another real estate agent or a guest, or it could be a lender, mortgage broker, financial advisor, somebody other than myself, and it usually goes on for an hour. This is not a video. I got a long email expressing how disappointed they were they said I had some really good points during my movie, but it was way too long of a movie for them to hear us just ramble. And I was like, I had to explain, this is a live stream. This is what happens. This is so we can have a conversation in the chat with each other and you guys can get your questions answered. And that's how live streams work. They usually go on for about a little over an hour. I like talking real estate. So now that we got that clear, we're going to be talking to Michelle Belisari from South Florida.
Hi,
she's over in the Boca area. Yay!
I'm in
Welcome,
Boca,
Michelle.
baby.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Oh, Michelle, I want to tell you something, and everybody in the audience. I want to be the first to wish my husband a happy anniversary. It is our anniversary tomorrow.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. So, Eddie, the man with a plan, happy anniversary to you.
Happy anniversary. How many years?
I did that for him, so that way I could say I did it first.
You did it first. How many years?
I think 23. I think
oh,
we got married in 98. Is that 23 years? Whatever.
I don't know.
Somebody wrote it there. Don't folks read? Yeah. So yeah. Well, some people just don't know. And that. Let me just explain really quick before we get into the article and talk to Michelle. Some people are just cutting the plug. That's what Michelle and I were talking about. They just cut the plug from television and they're moving over to YouTube. So they don't really understand the culture of YouTube, live streams, videos. They don't know the difference yet. So, it takes them a little bit. So it was fine. I explained to her and I didn't hear back, but I thought I'd make that clear at the beginning as a PSA. So, Michelle, let's talk about your market. Let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself first.
Hey everyone, Michelle Belisari. I am a realtor here in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, South Florida. I am in between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. And we have a rather large market here, and we have a very popular market here. Florida is a no income tax state, which people love, very business friendly. We have great weather. So Florida is always a little bit of a unicorn compared to some of the other states. So we definitely have a lot of relocation here from California, the Northeast, and some other states. We also have a lot of second home buyers here. We also have a lot of people that are 55 plus that own here. And so, it's just a very interesting scenario where we are because people are still coming to Florida, not like they were, but that's because of the nature of this market right now and interest rates. But we're also just getting into our season, which really starts now with Thanksgiving being here and goes until about April.
So your hot season is now?
Yeah, our season gets busier now because so many people come down.
Okay.
And it's cold up north.
It's cooler here. Like we cool down this time of year. It's right after school ends that it's.
Yeah, we don't. People are looking. I have a pipeline of buyers right now who are, they're coming down and they're looking. And, but at the same time, it's just been a very interesting time. But I've also been in the industry for almost 20 years. So I've seen some changes over the years, and, preparation is the best way to handle it, right?
Mm-hmm. I love that your dog's in the background. I love that.
That's Barky Benny, and he's gonna bark less if he's in here with me.
All right. Well, let's bark about this this article that just came out by CBS, and it was saying that the home costs are going to be going down 20%, and so into 2023. So let's see what it says. Ta-da! Eddie's going to pull it up. U.S. home prices could fall as much as 20% as next year. Crow Holmes said something about that already. He said it could be possibly happening already. We're already in the 10%, he said. Home prices have slumped during the second half of 2022 with demand of residential real estate cooling off in a number of cities across the U.S. Prices could continue to fall as much as 20% next year as mortgage rates climb and the housing market normalizes in the wake of the pandemic, according to a noted Wall Street economist. We expect home prices to keep falling until early next year. By that point, sales will have fallen to an incomprehensible minimum level. Wow. Where the only people moving homes are those with no choice due to job or family circumstances. What I always said, the housing market would only collapse if the jobs market collapsed. Discretionary buyers are disappearing rapidly in the face of the nearly 400 basis points increase in rates over the past year. Goldman Sachs said they expect home prices to fall more than a modest 5% to 10% next year. That seems more realistic to me. Cities that saw the sharpest spikes in home prices last year are now seeing the return to earth, including places like Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Denver and Colorado. Mortgage rates have doubled over the last year and could be climbing. Some real estate markets cooling as the market hits a 20-year high. Home values plunging in some U.S. cities as mortgage rates rise. Home sales fell 4.7 to 4.7 last month, down 1.5 from August, according to the National Association of Realtors. If I say realtors, they get mad. rising interest rates up. Rising interest rates could further tighten. Mortgage rates have more than doubled. We all know this. It went from 6.9 up from 3.2 in January. We all know it's doubled. We all know that. Here's the thing. I'm going to say this. They're taking an average across the board to 20%. They're predicting that 20% across the board, right? But this has not stopped corporate investors from buying. I'm going to be showing this in my video coming out, not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday. There's so many institutional investors that have popped up in the market with over 1,000 homes. Like we would say small investors. 1,000 homes isn't a small investors. That's a lot of homes, and they're building to rent. They're building more houses to rent. They're buying them up from the builders, blocks of houses from builders. I don't see 20% in my area. Do you see 20% in your specific area?
No, I don't. And I was looking at some of the stats today from Beach's MLS. We're pretty large. I think we're like the third largest MLS. So we're pretty big. And so just to give you an idea, and we have kind of a broad price range. Like if you go up the cities from Fort Lauderdale to Lighthouse Point to Deerfield Beach to Boca, Delray, Boynton, Lake Worth, West Palm, Palm Beach Gardens, like we have all these little cities, right? But like just to give you an idea, the October stats just came out. And the closed sales, we had 152 closed sales for single family homes here in Boca. Okay. Down 35.3%. But get this, the median sales price went up 15.2%. And the average sales price went up 18.2%.
How much has your area gone up since the beginning of the pandemic? Let me just put it this way. How much has your percentage gone up in sales price since the beginning of this year?
Oh my God. I'd have to actually
20%, 10%.
It was a lot. I mean, it was.
You don't know how much percentage wise?
Well, it went up so fast and so much in our area. The year, let me see here, from the October 2021 through now, it went up. The average sale price went up like 14.9%, but the median went up 28.9%. And keep in mind, our prices here are high. So the average sale price in Boca is over $1 million, like $1,091,000. So it's very interesting to see like how this kind of changes.
Do you think your market is insulated from this? Like if there was like a drastic shift in the housing market? Do you think your area is insulated from any kind of price
I think we're
deductions?
insulated more than other areas because of the uh, type of buyers that we have here and the type of properties we have here. I mean, you're looking at waterfront, oceanfront, luxury, lots of luxury here. Delray Beach, kind of the same thing, like the average sales price in the last year went up 10.1%.
Mhm.
And that's right next door to Boca. Their prices actually are a little bit even higher, the average sales price, but they have less sales than we do,
Mhm.
um, based on the numbers. That's just single family homes. The one thing that is happening is we are getting more inventory on the market. So we've got like 3.7% of inventory right now
Mhm.
in Boca, but Delray is about 3.1, and the South Florida, let's see what kind of inventory we have right now. About, you know, based on October 2069, new homes came on the market, kind of thing. So we're definitely getting more inventory, which is not a bad thing. But I don't see the prices really doing a whole lot of deep diving because of the type of area that we live in, luxury, vacation. And again, the lifestyle is a big draw here.
Our area here in the greater Baton Rouge area, it's those houses that are we are luxury, because those ones that are like 5, 6, 700,000, those ones are taking the biggest deductions
Yeah.
because first of all, there just isn't enough of those buyers to buy those houses. There just isn't. And the people that are selling them are the ones that work at some of the biggest, the bigger factories, and they shift around CEOs like this. So
Gotcha.
we those houses have gotten the most, but anything under 300,000 sells still so fast, so fast. It's unbelievable.
So I
Um,
think that's a really good point, because the numbers I'm talking about are single family home numbers, but from affordability standpoint, that's my dog.
I love
The townhouses and villas, that's where you're going to like see like that lower price point,
Mhm,
more affordability, which in my opinion always was that way. It's the single family homes that are so expensive. The biggest challenge we're up against right now in the state of Florida is
mhm.
we have a property insurance crisis. I call it a
Yeah.
crisis, right? So
Mhm,
there's hometown heroes programs, there's down payment assistance programs. So as long as you're doing an HOA, you're in pretty good shape with that kind of thing. If you've got agents that actually understand it and know it. The biggest problem we're seeing is all of these insurance companies that went out of business here. And so we don't have a lot to choose from, and it got super expensive. And I am really not looking forward to seeing what kind of quote I'm going to get in December from my insurance agent, because keep in mind too, with Hurricane Ian, that in itself, we don't know what that's going to do, okay, in regard to rates and what's next. And so single family homes in particular, that's where it's really going to affect a home buyer, especially if they're getting a loan, because
mm.
ratios are going to be whacked out. So we do have that as an issue. I have to say our property taxes, if you're homesteaded, are not too bad. It just depends on your price point.
I don't know, I lived in Florida. My property taxes were freaking steep in compared to what I pay here.
Well,
It's
compared to the
steep.
Northeast, though, people from New Jersey and New York, they are always saying how
Cheap.
the property taxes here are much more manageable than what they're dealing with up there.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and
It's
that's
all
where
a
we
matter of
come from.
perspective.
Yeah,
It's all a matter of
exactly.
perspective. What are you used to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I won the lottery when I moved to Louisiana from Florida. I really
Yeah.
did. I'm like, paying
Exactly.
tax? I mean, my God, I paid a quarter of what I paid in property taxes. I pay like everything was so much cheaper. Everything, like
Mhm.
everything. So
Yeah.
it's all perspective.
It's all perspective. Yeah, it is, and that's just it. And what's the trade-off?
Mhm.
Again, I go back to no state income tax, the lifestyle, the weather. the business economy here, you know.
What are
It
they
really,
doing for the insurance thing though? Like,
I
how are
know.
they? Nothing.
We don't know yet. That's the thing, and that's what's a little scary. And I've mentioned it to a couple of people, like on our county commission. I mentioned it to somebody, and I don't think they're as aware of the problem as they should be. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that or they just don't want to address it because they're not
Well,
getting paid by a lobbyist to talk about it.
I know, but it's going to be a problem. It is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Ken Pozak was on here about a month and a half ago, and he was talking about how bad it is. And I really worry for the people that live in those states that our insurance companies are pulling out. Because what happens when a
Yes.
storm comes through? Like, what do you do
Well,
then?
that, and somebody who is trying to purchase a home, if the rate is so ridiculous, it is going to throw their ratios off, and they may not qualify for their loan approval.
Good
So
call.
the
It's true.
PITI, that's my concern. I have millennials, my girls, and we talk about like what's next for you all in regard to purchasing something. And the insurance is crazy. And realistically, affordability really comes down to a condo or a
Mhm.
townhome for our young adults at this point.
Buy your kid
Although
a house now and then give it to them when they get older.
that, yeah, but that ship sailed for us because, my
Mhm.
kids are older now. And
Oh, yeah, true.
But with that being said, I think this is the time where families are starting to brainstorm more about how to purchase generational real estate so that they do have that for their kids or whatever. The other thing is, you know, most lenders will let you gift as well.
Yes.
So there's some ways around, trying to help if you want to help someone out.
This one says, question. Some are moving from north out of Florida. We were talking about earlier before the stream started, we were talking about the silver tsunami of
Yeah.
people that are selling. And because you said that you've had some listings recently, and they're mostly in the over 55. And there's been like articles for the last 10 years saying there's going to be this wide range of silver tsunami people, baby boomers that are selling their homes. And, like there's going to be a bunch of these smaller homes that are on the market that millennials could buy. That didn't happen. But does that look like that's something that could be possibly happening for in the next 5 years, do you think?
Well, so what I am seeing is I'm getting some listings in the 55 plus arena, which I always have, especially in the last 10 years or so. That's kind of been a niche of mine.
Mhm.
And they're downsizing to cash out and moving in with their families, or they have um, a small condo near their something, so they're moving. I think the kids are saying, come live with us so that we can, take care of you and things like that. And
Mhm.
so, divorce comes into play too. You have the gray divorce situation that affects 55 plus scenarios where people have raised their kids and they have nothing in common. So they're like, let's sell the property and cash out and stay friends or whatever and go our own way. But that's a reality. It's been going
Nobody
on.
stays friends. Give me a break. That's not a reality.
My parents did, believe it or
I'm
not.
just
They
I'm
actually
joking. I'm
did,
kidding.
surprisingly. But so there's a few scenarios with the boomers and the 55 plus scenarios, and they're typically pretty affordable, except my millennials can't buy them because they're not 55.
Right, right.
Somebody 55 can usually buy and occupy, and someone younger can live there, but someone 55 has to be typically an occupant.
Maribel says, question, when should one refinance? Just bought a duplex with an 8% interest rate. I have an answer for you on this.
Go ahead.
You want me to go? Okay. So, Brian LaRussa, who works for GMFS Lending, he was on here, was it last week or the week before? And he said, you look at the whole picture, look at your whole financial situation. If it's gone down 2% and you can qualify for that, that's going to make a significant difference to your payment. So there is no time frame on most mortgages. There's no prepayment penalty now. There used to be, but check to make sure you don't have a prepayment penalty for refinancing. You wouldn't have that penalty if you were selling the house, but if you're trying to refinance it, you may have that. You just check. And just look at your overall payment. They say if it's come down 2%, that's going to make a huge difference on your underlying payment, and you can refinance. If it went down 5% tomorrow, I'd run to go get a refinance immediately. Lock that sucker in.
Well, that's where the value of having a great lender to talk to and really brainstorm your unique situation. It's like people have financial planners, they have estate attorneys, but yet they don't necessarily talk to a lender. And so, people that start to list their houses kind of after the crest in April, May. I'm so sorry about my dog.
No, we're dog animal people here. We love them.
I can let them out if that's
no,
okay.
we love them.
Sure.
It's fine by me.
Okay. Here's the thing, and this is the one caveat. You can sell your home, but if you're not paying cash for your next home and you're going to finance it, what you have now on your current home could be a much lower interest rate. And if you go to finance something, it's going to be double what you're already paying in a home that you own if you have a loan on it. And yet, I don't think those conversations are happening with a lender. So somebody goes to sell, they want to sell, but they're not saying, well, if I get a loan, what's the difference now? If I'm paying $2,000 a month now on my mortgage and I got to buy something else, how much more is it going to cost me? And it's going to cost them double.
Exactly. That's why I think that's why I keep saying it's going to stay stagnant in a lot of markets. There's just not going to be a lot of shift because there hasn't been, like nobody's going to sell. There isn't a lot of new construction, and they didn't have a humongous increase in the last, couple of years. It only went up, but it didn't go up like, 35, 40%. You're not going to see home prices dropping 35, 40%. It's just not going to happen unless there's a big crash in the jobs market. But Serenity Cow says, what's the dog's opinion on the doghouse market?
Because the dog's opinion is the dog is going to go out into the living room. So I am going to open my office door and let them out because they are annoying me to, you know what? So
okay.
One second.
She's gonna turn off her camera so she can put the dogs away. I didn't mind the dogs. I'm a dog person, and anybody remembers when Marcel was here in my last office. Marcel liked to jump up here and he put his butt right in the camera. My cat.
Oh, that's right. You told me that. They're usually pretty good, but I don't know. Anyways, so what else was I was going to mention something else about the lender piece. Which is talk to a trusted realtor for good lender people who are creative for you. There's more than one way to go about whatever it is that you want to do. And lenders are getting creative again, which isn't a bad thing. Because isn't it like, this is my thought. You kind of have to think of it like an investor right now. And yes, you may be paying a higher interest rate. But here's the thing, they are still historically low. They're still single digits. And if you see something that you love, tie it up like an investor would tie something up, and then focus on what you can do with a lender after the fact. I mean, it's very difficult.
Right, but a lot of people can't even look at these prices right now and then look at the interest rate. That's not even in their wheelhouse, because it would have been in the wheelhouse if it was at 2%. If they could find a house at that time, but there wasn't any houses available. Now there's more houses available and the interest rates are up. So, and their houses are now still like super expensive. So now they're really out of the picture.
So I think it's an expectation piece too. So if you want to own real estate, you have to kind of set your expectation to what is my long-term goal. So if I want to get into the real estate ownership game, maybe I lower my expectation to something less expensive. And because there are less expensive things out there, not everything is over the top. Okay.
Yeah, I
but
guess
maybe
that would
it's
be
not.
where you live, though. Like,
Well, this is true, but
yeah.
still, I think there's affordability in every market, but it's
Mhm.
not going to be necessarily what you envision
As
for
your first home.
you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, like with
This
my
isn't the
girls,
Notebook.
yeah, would they like to buy a single family home? Sure. Are they going
Mhm.
to? No. You may have to start off with a one condo. However, if that's what you can do, would it make sense for you to do that versus renting? If you can do it.
Have you Cheryl says this question, I don't see people buying homes when the banks are broke. At least that is what I've heard. Have you heard the banks are broke and aren't going to lend out money?
No, have you?
No. I mean, like there's always the what ifers, that have these like big headlines. It's like banks are closing up shop and blah 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 blah. There's no more, they're not getting government backed security, blah blah blah. Like they always say that, and they're like, this is going to crash the market. But the whole article is a big what if, like what if this happens? This could possibly happen. This might happen if the market acts this way. This could happen. But as far as I know, banks aren't stopping to lend money now for the last since the last housing crash that we had, which was in 2007, 8, 9, and it continued to lag for a few years, shaking off those foreclosures. The restrictions that were required for lending went up exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I have seen recently is those same like safety nets that have been there have been a little lax. They're laxing those up because there not many people are borrowing, so they're getting more um, people
Creative.
the creative, right? So they're laxing up some of the regulations they used to have. That makes me nervous, but we won't see the effects of that for several years down the road. Those things, like when they do it now, it takes time for it to really have its negative or positive impacts. But for even this last 2 years, even though the interest rates were really low, to get a loan, my God, some of the things that they were asking of us, we refinanced a rental property, and it was like every other minute they were asking for another thing. I'm like, "Our
Right.
credit is impeccable. What the heck?"
Yeah.
How many times we gotta show them this freaking bank statement? We just showed it to them 2 days ago.
I
It's
think that's just a fallout though from '08,
yeah, and it is. So I just don't see like everybody's talking about the wave of foreclosures. A lot of these people that bought houses in the last couple of years that bought them for over asking price did it with cash, so that wasn't financed money. They gambled, they lost. Like if let's just say the market goes down 20% in their area and they paid 20% over the asking price. They gambled that 20% and they lost it, but they didn't finance it. So they're not going to
Right.
lose their house. And even still, if they're still making those payments and their house went down 20%, it sucks, but it will come back and they didn't lose anything because they're not losing their house. It's
Yeah,
like,
I agree with you. I mean, what happened in '08 is not what's going on right now.
I keep
That
saying
was
that.
a vastly different, in my opinion, scenario
Hmm.
because of the type of loans that they were making and the lack of regulation with it, and you know, a number of things that happened all at one time, right? Um, and of course, they tightened everything up. And let's put it this way: if the foreclosure wave was going to happen, at least now, right? It would
Hmm.
have happened during the pandemic when people weren't working necessarily. And what I saw was the banks worked with people and said, listen, we'll work with you.
This
You
time,
know, yeah.
not last time.
We
They
don't
were like,
want
nope,
we
you're
don't want
throwing
your
the
house.
foreclosure sign up.
Yeah, we don't want your house. We
Hmm.
don't want to deal with that again. Now, will there be foreclosures and short sales again? Yeah. But
It's going to take a lot of time.
I think what you said though, it's like a lot of it has to do with the job market,
Hmm. Yep.
right? So if people can't, but here's where I like to say as a realtor,
Real
um,
tour.
realtor,
I get hype on that, man. People bust my
realtor,
chops.
um, this is where when if somebody reaches out to you, I don't want that listing. I want them to save their house if they can. In all
Mhm,
honesty, I don't want your listing. You have equity in it. Let's figure out how you can save it. That's
mhm,
I don't want your foreclosure. I don't want your short sale.
mhm.
I want to figure out how you can save your house, especially if there's equity in it, because that was the problem before. There was no equity in anything. you know?
But even then though, I had some people that I helped save their house that like
Yeah,
literally they were on in the doorway of foreclosure.
yeah.
And I had investors and I'm like, "Hey, this is they're about to foreclose. Can you save them?" And there were only a couple, but I was able to do it, you know? So, Emmanuel has had this question sitting up here and he's been waiting patiently. He said, question, I've seen a couple of pushbacks from agents not wanting to work with open door agents. Is this common across the board or is it just specific to these agents? It's specific to these agents.
I was just gonna say it's probably specific.
Yeah, like, I don't care who you work for. Are you gonna sell my listing? Like,
Right.
give me a contract. Are you gonna bring me an offer? I don't care who you work for. I'd actually never look to see if the agent who they even work for or anything. I don't even know any of it until the end. I don't even know what my commission rate is until the day that I get the closing document because I don't even look.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Oh, look, Stacy with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much, Stacy. I appreciate that. That was very nice of you. CC Moon says, with a $1.99 super chat says, thoughts on layoffs. Will more companies come out? Yeah, absolutely. More companies are going to come out. That's what Jerome Powell's big, scheme was. We're gonna keep raising the rates. We want to have a big widespread layoffs. He said Americans are going to hurt. He thinks about that. He said he thinks about those families, but this is what needs to be done. And he kept every time he gets on the screen, he's like, we need to remove another million and a 1.3 million jobs. Oh, we need to remove another 1 million jobs. The whole thing is like at night sometimes I'm like, this whole economy is made up. The whole thing is made up. Money is made up. It's all fake. The whole thing. Like that's what I feel like.
I don't know. The whole thing
He
is
waited
just
too long to raise the rate. He waited way too long. It should have been done months and months earlier. People had said it a long time ago. Why they kept it so low for so long, nobody will know for sure. It was like they were asleep at the wheel and they went, oh man, boy, this was a really bad idea. We really need to wrangle this in. Let's just blast the economy with really high rates all of a sudden, like.
well, it's shocked. It was a shock, right? It's like sticker shock. But yet I will consistently say they are still historically low in single digits and we don't know where they're going to go. So it's like you can't time the market and my crystal ball is foggy at any given time. So there you go.
Article came out a couple weeks ago or it was a week ago that said that interest rates could go as low as 5% again next year at the mid.
I saw that too.
Oh, yeah, mid to middle next year. When I had Ryan on, he's like his team of people that he powwows with every week. That's what they're concurring to. We'll see. I'm not saying it. The article said it. I like this whole thing.
Yeah. No, but I've been hearing a little buzz on that too, like January, February kind of thing.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
We'll
Susanna
see.
says my dogs are barking. Just what they're saying. Oh, the dogs are barking. Yeah, the dogs are barking. Oh, what kind of pup? Everybody wants to know what your puppy is.
I have two. I have a yellow lab named Brody,
Uh-huh.
and I have a mini schnauzer rescue named Benny, who we rescued from a Miami hoarding house in 2020. He is the funniest dog I've ever had. He's hilarious. He's our second mini schnauzer. They're a funny dog, and Brody's our second lab. I usually have two dogs at one time, and they're usually really good though. They're quiet when they're in here, but there must have been something out front or something. But they're good boys.
This is new at our house. We have many, many animals. Everybody has their own animal. Everybody
I have a fish. I have a pink Soboka fish called Poppy.
Yeah. Crow Homestead says, question, are 50 over 5/1 condos being built everywhere in Florida? They're almost always rentals. 5/1 condo.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
I don't know what 5/1 condo is. I've never heard that expression, but
maybe
maybe we call it something else.
Yeah,
5/1 condos. 5/1.
And I will say a lot of the 55 plus condos have rental restrictions like 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah, like in Orlando before, investors started getting involved, they even had in the restrictions like they couldn't have more than 20% of the building that was considered rentals. Like, and if they caught you,
oh yeah,
you got a big old fine. Big old fine.
Oh wow. Well, and also too, the percentage of investment properties in a building lenders look at that too.
So you're in a vacation spot. How many of those homes, this came up last week. There's a lot of properties in San Francisco that are vacant, but they're vacation properties. How many of those
Oh,
properties stay vacant because they're vacation spots and like they're vacant like throughout the summer-ish, and then they get like really packed during the wintertime? Because I know that like I had a friend that lived in Sebring, Florida, and like his area would be dead until the snowbirds came down. Like right at this time of year, all of a sudden it was like they had traffic, this little sleepy town of nowhere. And all of a
oh,
sudden
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like
Well, there was a big, big push on Airbnb purchases the last
oh,
couple of years. It's not my lane, so I can't overly speak to that.
oh, gotcha.
But I will say we do have Airbnbs all over South Florida, and some cities are much friendlier towards them than others.
Yeah,
Um, I think um, what used to happen, I've been here a very long time,
Mhm,
and the summer was not busy, right? But people over the last several years, they vacation here in the summer. They
yeah,
vacation all over Florida in the summer, whereas before it was like you went to Florida in the winter, visited your grandparents, and came down for a couple weeks like we did. We would come to Fort Lauderdale
mhm,
and hang out, and my dad would rent a house on the beach,
yep,
like a little old Florida concrete house. But now it's all year long, and because we are a destination for weddings and events, people rent. Like my sister-in-law's rented 2 houses up in Ponte Vedra, which is by St. Augustine, Labor Day weekend a year ago,
mhm,
for a wedding. And so, September, Labor Day weekend. I mean, yeah, it's a long weekend, but this was for an event, right? So I think I get the impression from what I see on my feed, on, real estate, things that I'm seeing from people here who do specialize in that, it seems to be doing fine here.
mhm.
Not a lot of vacancies. I mean, I had somebody ask me about an Airbnb the other day, and
I
I
meant
said,
vacancies that weren't like not foreclosures. I meant vacancies that were just sitting there
yeah,
vacant.
just not, yeah, no, I'm not getting that impression from anybody that they're
Mm.
having a problem with that. I think they're pretty busy still. And
So
now
this
they'll be busy all through the season.
So this 5/1 is a phrase that refers a framed residential building, 5 stories tall, which is built over a concrete platform, which typically hosts a commercial space or parking lot over one popular method for building apartments and adding density of urban areas since they are cheaper and faster to build than a steel framed apartment buildings.
No idea.
Well, the thing is too, in Florida, you can't have wood framed buildings.
It's really tough. Everything here is like cement block.
It has to be. That's building code in Florida.
And termites.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, David has a question. In your opinion, where will the interest rates be next year? Oh, we played this game last year. Last
Mm.
year, I talked about this a lot. Last year, we played this game. Where do you think interest rates will be? I had a panel of them on, and they were like, "Yeah, I think they'll be in the threes, and I said they'll be in the fives, and people were like, "Oh, I don't think that will be
I think
that
I
high.
remember
No,
that.
no, no." And then when they hit fives, I was like, and then when they got to the sixes, I was like, "Oh." Then now they're the sevens. I think they're below sevens now. They waver back and
We
forth.
went
What do you
down a
think they're
little
gonna
bit
be
last
next year?
week. Yeah.
How high do you think they can go? How high do you think it could possibly be next year?
I'm holding at 7.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go higher. I think the highest we're gonna see next year is over 8. I think we're gonna see over 8. I think the lowest we're gonna see is in the fives.
Yeah, I think the lowest we'll see will be in the 5s.
Yep.
But
We
I
might
think, yeah,
we
maybe
might get
between 7
lucky.
and 8.
We might get a day where it's like 4.94. 4.94. It
All of
just
our lender friends will be like, "Rah!"
for that 30 minutes, when somebody was locking in their rate, they're sitting there waiting. That's a real thing, you guys. Like,
I
people
know.
like that there, and they're just waiting, and their lender is sitting there waiting. They're like, "Lock it in now, lock it in now." Like they're stockbrokers, in the
Yeah,
market. They do
yeah. Buy, buy, buy.
it. Yeah, that's a real thing. People do that.
No, you're right. You're right. So yeah, you're probably more right than I am about that, but between 7 and 8.
Yeah, I think the high it's gonna be in the 8s is the
I'm
highest.
being optimistic.
Mhm. CC Moon, sorry, CC, with a 4.99 super chat. I need a I need a I need a,
Cool.
one of those things that says super chat, every time somebody
Oh,
says a
you need
super
the sound effect.
it
Super
is a sound
chat.
effect, that was it. What does the crystal ball see in 2023 in my love life, career life, I mean, real estate market, US events? I expect more turmoil in 2023. I predict more headlines that say, "We're seeing unprecedented times," because that's all I've ever saw for the last 3
I
years.
know, it's been exhausting.
I know. I gotta keep saying I'm so tired of living in unprecedented times. I'm sick of unprecedented times in real estate. I'm sick of, and as crazy as it was the last 2 years, people were like, "Oh, I bet the real estate agents were just like rolling in it. They were so happy."
Slaying it.
I was miserable, deal after deal after deal, like, and houses going up so much, it just made me sick to my stomach. Because some of these houses that would have sold for $175,000 here are now over 300,000.
Yeah,
That makes me nauseated because I know that, like, there's lots of families that could buy a house and they're more than qualified, but we just
right,
don't have anything in those price range anymore. Just
right.
gross. And nobody's
Yes,
building anything in that price range. They're
no.
building big houses.
Well, they're building high-end luxury here, and then the other thing is getting the building supplies and things because there's a shortage of so much stuff.
That's fabricated, some of it. Some of it is like, that's what the builders say. Some of it. Like, I've already talked to a builder, and he's like, "Well, I mean, not all of it is because of that." He's like, "We've had
No,
a
not
shortage of
all of it, but
And he's
that's
like, "And I know that we can up the price." He's like, "If I can make more money now, and then because I know I'm gonna make less money later down the road, of course, I'm gonna make as much as I can right now." So
yeah,
I'm gonna squeeze if the market is, like, they don't care. They're gonna squeeze it as hard as they can. So, and some of them that having to eat a little crow right now, I don't mind. Emmanuel with a $3 super chat says, "Thought or advice on making offers at this time?" Ooh, I've got some. Go ahead with your favorite tip right now.
I think this is a great time for buyers to make offers because the sellers are willing to negotiate. They're
Mhm.
back at negotiating repair credits, repairs, prices, all of that stuff. The multiple offers are not there like they were. I
In
think it's a
some
great
markets.
time.
In some markets, there are still some markets that are still seeing multiple offers, which blows my
Um,
mind.
yeah, but not as strong
Not as
like
strong.
down here. Like
Mhm.
you can see some like multiple offers on something, but they're not as like intense, like strong over ask multiple offers
Correct.
kind of thing. So I think if you see something and you love it, make an offer.
Okay, and that's what I'd say, like, don't worry about offending the seller because the worst they can say is no, and I'd ask for everything. I'd ask them to take off the little bit of the purchase price, I'd ask them to pay for discount points, I'd ask them for, closing costs, I'd ask them for a full repairs, but don't be ridiculous about it? Like, ask for things that you need, don't ask them to repaint a house, that's not something that's functional to the house, but if it looks like the air conditioning is over 20 years old, you may want to ask for a new HVAC system. Make sure you have a full inspection done to the house. Do not forego your inspection period. Make sure you go through that whole entire inspection period, have all your inspections done. Make sure you have a wood destroying insect addendum done to that house, making sure there's no wood destroying insects to that home. Have everything done and make sure that that house is checked over with a fine tooth comb. But I would negotiate discount points for the mortgage rate. I would negotiate closing costs. I would negotiate sales price. I would ask for a home warranty and I would ask for repairs to the house and do not let go of your inspection period. That's what I would
And
say.
during that inspection period, especially in Florida, do
Mhm.
your due diligence on your insurance quotes.
Good call. Good call. And that includes flood insurance because here you could have a little house that has a really good interest rate. I mean, you could have gotten all those things, but you get that insurance for flood insurance and you were crying. You were crying. Sometimes the flood insurance is more than the homeowner's insurance. And that happens a lot, especially the closer you get to the bayous, to the bayous.
Mhm, that's a good point because of where you're located and where I'm located.
Yep.
Know your flood zone.
Katie Dockery, K Dockery says, question, will people learn that not everybody can be a homeowner? This is true.
Yep.
Go back in time and renters outnumbered owners substantially, especially in cities. This is completely true. My
Yep.
brother lives in outside of Manhattan. He's been a renter his whole life. He's like, there's no reason for me to buy, like I can live in this nice area. I'm totally fine. He lives on Roosevelt Island. He's always been a renter, but he's renting to retire to own in the future. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with owning a home either, but not everybody is meant to own a house.
No, and
a lot. If you move every, couple years,
yeah.
can't keep stable or whatever, yeah, don't do it. That'd be dumb. But if you're planning on living in an area for 10 years or more, there's no reason for you not to buy a house. Because I always say, if you made a bad decision buying a house, it all washes out within 10 years. It does. I mean, like if you bought a house in a really good area and then the market went bad, say you bought a house in 2008 and you bought it, like when home prices had just started falling, 10 years later, you made that money up plus some, it all washes out within 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And not everybody is meant to buy that for a variety of reasons,
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that.
Not a thing. Nothing. Just don't. I hate that for people though, because sometimes they get convinced that they can't buy, and
Right.
then they find out that they can't, that they could have bought all that time. They thought, well, I'm just not meant to own because I don't think I make enough money. And it was like, wow, you did make enough money and your credit is really good, but had this narrative that was stuck in your head that you couldn't buy and you could have
Yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah.
that happens too.
I agree with you. I think the narrative sometimes comes from maybe other people too. And, when I work with my
Mhm.
first time home buyers, one of the things that I tell them is don't tell anybody what you're doing because you're not going to have friends that necessarily are thrilled for you
Right.
that may not be in a position to buy. And so they may be negative talk to you. So be careful who you're sharing that with because it should be a happy time for you if you're doing that.
Mhm.
And share the joyous news after you close.
What about my first house? I was a hairdresser at the time. I don't know if anybody knew this, but I used to be a hairdresser. I was a hairdresser at the time when I bought my first home. And everybody that sat in my chair, they're like, "Oh, you're buying a house?" I'm like, "Yeah." And every single person had some piece of advice
Oh
for
no.
me about buying a house. And then like one person were like, what was your interest rate?" So I tell them, and then they're like, "That was terrible." And then I feel like crap. And then like the next person comes along and they're like, "Oh no, that's a really good one." And then they ended up being a mortgage lender. And they're like, "Yeah, and that's what the going rate is. You got a really good interest rate." And I'm like, "Well, why did they tell me I got a bad one?" He's like, "I have no idea." You know, like,
It's like your parents that come to the inspection who haven't bought a home in 20 years. They don't understand the nuances anymore. And sometimes you just have to, like I said, get in as long as it's nothing that is not either being fixed by the seller or something that you can handle. It's negotiate,
Mhm.
whatever, don't be scared off by somebody's experience that is not maybe current.
Look at home ownership, that chart that Eddie showed. Look how it went down. Like, well, I'm assuming that very low point was like what, that 2007, I would guess 2009, maybe.
I'm thinking, yeah, probably 9,
Yeah, 2009.
9, 10, 11.
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
Oh,
Oh,
oh yeah. There you go. So it
2000.
started going 15, it started turning around.
Yeah,
That's about
2015. Wow,
right.
I didn't realize it was so low in 2015.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. It was
Yeah.
lower than it was in the 80s.
Well, we were still doing a lot of foreclosures down here from
Uh,
2009 through really about 2015. That's about right.
do you think it will go back down to this low again?
No.
I I'm gonna disagree. You know why? Because so many investors are buying up these smaller houses. I mean,
Well,
especially
I
like
think it might go
Atlanta.
down, but I don't think it'll go down that far.
Mm, I don't think there's many, not because of the the uh the ability of the person being able to purchase. I just don't think there's going to be houses for them to purchase. That's why I think they're going to be stuck in that rent rat race of renting, because the homes that they would have purchased normally are now turned into rentals and they have no choice because there's nothing else in the area. That's because home builders don't build those small houses anymore.
No.
They don't build them. They build,
Mhm.
big houses. So anyways, David says, question, 250K equity. Ooh, 800 credit scores. Social Security income is low. Underwriters won't count rental money. Boxable rent will be easy to pay. HELOC, college town prices have only dropped 3%. How can I get a 75? You have to have a home purchase, and they have to do they'll have to do an appraisal, drive-by appraisal of your property, make sure it's worth the 75,000 in HELOC, but I wouldn't count on Possible to get it to your area. They have a waiting list. I think it's like 125,000 people that are on that waiting list. And
Wow.
they are shipping them out according to their website. They have been shipping them out, but they're only shipping them out to California, Las Vegas, and one more, Nevada. I think New Mexico is the other one. I don't quote me on the last one, but I'm pretty sure it's only those 3 states. They're not all over the place. It takes a long time, but they're great little houses.
They look great.
They're fun. I mean, they're really nice, and the insulation on them is really good.
Didn't you go to the factory for that?
Twice.
I
I
thought so.
went to their original factory when it was just a prototype, went to their
I
factory.
remember that.
Yeah, and then I went to their factory when they made a big factory, and they were starting on their second factory. They now have a second factory that's right next to the big factory. So, yeah, and they're all in that same little, like the original factory, the new factory, and the newest factory. They're all in the same little area
Oh, nice.
in Las Vegas. Clifton Charles says, question, we're going to get financing for owner builds without a GC. What's a GC?
General contractor.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Quick
Every
way
bank
dog
I
like that.
go to wants to have a general contractor. I don't want to use a general contractor. I have knowledge going in building, so that's why I don't need one. If you want a loan, that's on the lender, and the lender's trying to protect a house
Yeah.
being built, so they have no choice. It's not even the person that you're talking to. It's their, what they have to follow, their guidelines they have to follow. And if there isn't a licensed contractor that's following the project, they're not going to loan you the money. You're not going to be able to find that.
Yeah. Kinda gotta do what they want you to do to get the
Yeah.
money, honey.
Yeah, I mean, you could try different lenders. I mean, you could try credit unions. They might be a little bit more lenient if you have a lender within your local credit union. They're
Mm,
usually a little bit
that's true.
more lenient. They'll work with you on your projects a little bit more, those local banks, than the big
Local
banks.
is great, by the
Mhm,
way. Local
mhm.
can be so good,
I
you know?
and they know the programs too. Like, they're
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of federal money that has, like, this got all brushed under the carpet. This is coming up in a video. There's a lot of affordable housing stuff that's going to be coming out really soon, because a lot of states were given a lot of money for that Build Back Better plan or whatever.
Mhm.
Billions of dollars are going into your local housing in your area, for all sorts of things, condos, multifamily units, and all sorts of things, and including manufactured housing. So, um, yeah, a lot of those programs are being told to the local lenders that could help people get a house in their local area, especially if you're in
Yeah,
a rural area. So you'll get something called bond money. So you'll
right.
hear about it, federal bond money. And if you
Yep.
go to those big lenders, they're not gonna know about that, but your little small town communities are gonna know about that money.
So, and look for, if you're buying, especially first-time home buyers, look for an agent that is a first-time home buyer specialist. They'll know about the bond program, the SHIP program,
Mhm.
the Hometown Heroes programs, and they can help you with that.
All states have different programs.
Yeah.
Like, the ones I might be talking about will be completely different in Florida. So make sure you're talking to somebody in that local area.
Yep. But we have a bond here through the
Mhm.
state. I'm pretty sure we still have it, because that's what I used to deal with when I was working with the first-time home buyers all the
It
time.
runs out here. They're like, we have it, and
It
then we
does
don't.
run out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have it, and then we don't have it.
yeah.
Just check it.
The state
Check
funds it, and then it runs out, and then they have to
Mhm.
fund it, I think, every year kind of thing. But it's pretty cool, and you can go on your, state housing website, and you can see all the qualifications and things, and then typically you can go on your county website or city website and look for SHIP, SHIP. Don't ask me what it stands for, I can't remember.
Well, I'm glad they didn't use a T at the end. That's all I'm gonna say. David Matney says with the $5 super chat. Do you guys think it is better to buy a home now versus 6 months ago? Do you think it was better to buy a home now versus 6 months ago?
What do you think?
I'm asking you first.
Well, it really just depends. I
It
mean,
depends on the person, right?
yeah,
I'd be pretty pissed though. If like it wouldn't make a difference to me. If I bought a house 6 months ago, I'd be pissed because the interest rates right now are so freaking high.
yeah.
Like if I waited, I would be infuriated because the home prices haven't changed here for this
If
type of
you won the bid on that property you wanted.
right. Like I'd be mad if I waited and like because 6 months ago the house is the same price. Now
Yeah,
it's more in interest.
yeah,
It wouldn't have changed a thing for me.
yeah,
So yeah, that's my answer. But that
yeah,
and it's all area specific, right?
right.
So if you were in Austin, Texas, and you bought a house 6 months ago, I bet you're sitting in your house right now going, God bless America. I'm not a happy camper. Not a happy camper at all. You know?
Yeah.
Wick with a $2 super chat. Super chat. Should I finally buy a house as a veteran now? Like this is going to depend on your state, right? So what programs do they have on top of just your VA loan? Is there any programs for your area? Not only that, find out in your area if there is a homestead exemption for veterans. Sometimes they have an extra tax deduction, property tax deduction for veterans. So find out everything you possibly can find out to see if it is a good time for you to use that specific loan in your area. Yeah, like definitely check that out. I would talk to a few different lenders. Don't just talk to one. I talk to like a big one, one of the big ones. Then I talk to a local guy, and then I go to your federal credit unions because your
Mhm.
federal credit unions, man, they know what's going on. And then USDA, US, what is the one that not USDA, US
AA.
AA, thank you,
Yeah.
USAA for your insurance. 100% use that insurance for your homeowner's insurance. That is hands down the best homeowner's insurance you could possibly get. Because I've seen it here with hurricanes and tornadoes, all sorts of natural disasters. They come out immediately. They start doing everything immediately. They replace your food in your refrigerator. They give you a check to replace clothing. They do not wait around. They're coming around there. They're making sure you're taken care of. That insurance is the best.
And they have a great jingle, USAA.
Yeah, I know. I just my brain
In
is
my head.
I have the air conditioning off in here because it's very cold outside, but I didn't realize when I turned on all the lights and everything how warm it would get.
And you have a sweater on and a turtleneck.
It was cold in here, but now once you got everything going, I'm
I'm
cooking.
ready to go hit my AC down.
GSU for Life 1. Louisiana has bond money through the Louisiana Housing Corporation. All right.
Yeah.
Mundo.
The Florida Housing Corporation. That's the same thing. Yep. You got it, girl.
Yep. And then I'm going to talk about this in a couple weeks. This was one of those things that they were talking about how a lot of these programs are going to be getting a lot more money. A lot of these housing,
Sure.
the housing, each state, all they have to do is apply for it. They're going to get some.
And they have different guidelines with it, right? They have different guidelines, but you know what? First responders, you've got some opportunities with these hometown hero programs. Take advantage of it now.
Yep.
Also, too, FHA is an assumable loan. So if a house you're looking at has an FHA loan on it, talk to your lender about assuming that loan because it may have a lower interest rate on it. You have to qualify for it, but FHA is an assumable loan.
So is VA.
Yeah, right. And so sellers that want to sell that have those kind of loans, it's a great way to market it.
And if you live in a rural area and you find a house out in somewhere, and you'd be surprised, by the way, how many areas are considered rural that you're like, how is this rural? That's 100% financing. So just like look at your rural development loans too.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's 100% financing. I love me
There
a
you
rural
go.
development loan. We do a lot of them here. It's very common. Serenity Crow has a question. If you were the queen leader of America, well, I am kind of a princess,
Oh,
and
there's a crown
and
somewhere.
and had the power to fix and reset the current housing market and make it affordable for citizens,
There we go.
what
There's
would
my
you do? What is the plan of action? I would, and I've said this a million times, there is so much, we have tons of land. That is the one thing we're not missing is land. And a lot of areas have land. And I would do exactly what they did after World War II is that set up a bunch of modular manufactured homes, those little like little cubby houses, the little ones that just everybody had them. They all looked like little pink houses going down the street. Your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, your 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I would have a bunch of those just going little PUDs. I would have a bunch of them. And I would solve the affordability crisis because then you could have them because I don't know if you know this, but most lenders will not lend give money out for homes that are less than X amount of money. So it used to be $65,000. Some of them are $55,000, but each year it goes up. I think the last time it was $72,000. So if you could make those houses right at $75,000, do you know how quickly they would sell? And make it so that you can't be an investor, right? And you have to live. It has to have a resident living in that house for at least 5 years. That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
Make it a requirement.
Yeah. I mean, that's how a lot of people got into having their homes. They were they were specifically built after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed people to get into the, post-war bungalows and things like that.
Absolutely. That's what I would do. Have them
Yeah.
all the way down.
Yeah. And modular homes are built extremely, extremely well.
Yeah, they're still standing quite strong.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
all
And even down here, they're hurricane rated up to a certain category. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Question, do you think that prices will come down at all in Florida and that everyone who purchased recently will have negative equity in a few years? What is your opinion
So I think depending on where you live,
in
yeah,
Florida?
the prices might come down a little bit. Depends on where you live. It's a huge state, by the way,
Mhm.
huge. I don't think people are going to have negative equity really, unless, it really depends on if you got a loan, I think.
Well, do you remember after the last housing crash, Miami took a freaking it was a bloodbath after that because they had
Yeah.
built so many condos, right? Anticipating that the housing market would still continue to rise. Well, then people bought a condo and sat in this building empty, and they were the only ones in there.
I remember
Terrible. I'm
that.
not laughing at them.
Which is terrifying anyways. That's like a horror film.
It was like a horror film, correct, and that happened. So, do you think that's a possibility it could happen again in some of the because Miami's still flying high and so is Fort Lauderdale, they're still selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, they're also very internationally driven.
Okay.
So that's the other thing. And remember too, we were doing a ton of condo conversions. Do you
Okay.
remember that?
Yeah.
Everywhere. So I think prices look, certain areas it's definitely going to come down. Some it's still going up.
They're still selling Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
And
A lot
Boca,
of builders
Boca's
are
going up.
building multifamilies in Miami. Like whenever this all started, where the whispers were saying that interest rates are going to start going up, a lot of home builders were like, you know what, I can't get supplies, I can't get workers, screw it. I'm going to go and build multifamily units. And a lot of them went to South Florida. They were going to South Florida to build townhomes, condos, multifamily units. I mean, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But I think it just really depends on where you bought your house at. Like,
just like always,
it's unique to the person.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's going to be across the board? Yeah, I think prices are going to come down. How much? It's hard to say. It really is hard to say, and depends on what you bought your house at, and how much did you leverage, and how much did you put down, and how much did you overpay for it?
The thing that, because I talk about affordable housing options all the time, the problem that we have in the affordable price range is that we just do not have enough homes that are being built that are those 2-3 bedroom houses. We just don't have those anymore.
So,
And that would the only way that market would be more available is if we had a deduction of the jobs market, because those are the people that are going to have the hardest time paying their mortgage if they lose a job, or those ones that are living in more affordable homes. So if the job market collapses, then we'll see some of those houses hit the market. But until then, I don't know. It's really going to be driven by the jobs market. Job market tanks, home prices will tank. What do you think?
I think depends on the area that you're in, because again, I'm in a little bit of a different area.
100%.
Yeah, so it really is very specific to location. I think the other thing is that affordability and buying a single family home has become problematic because people expect to buy a single family home and they don't want to buy a condo or a townhouse or even a villa because they want a single family home. And
we don't
yet,
have those here.
Pardon me?
We don't have those. We don't have villas or
but
condos.
Little villas here, we do. We have tons of that here. So that's where I go back to saying you have to, depending on where you live, what is the expectation? Would you rather rent if you're in the position to buy, but you can't buy a single family home because of price? Why wouldn't you try to buy something that could work for you instead of shutting that right off?
I think some people get scared though, like when you talk about condos or townhomes and stuff, and they see the HOAs, because they can increase those HOAs, like to whatever they want each month. So you have this mortgage payment that you planned out. So you have this mortgage payment that, let's just say it's $1,500 a year with HOA fees, and they keep increasing in that, right? 3 years from now it's $1,800. Your income hasn't changed, but now you're paying an additional $300 for the condo that you bought at a higher interest rate.
So, understood, but let's look at it this way. If you own a single family home, and this is where condo owners forget this, they sell their single family home and they forget they had to pay for a new roof on their own. And they had to pay for a driveway on their own, and they had to figure out their landscaping. Maybe they had a pool. Maybe they had a water leak. Maybe their air conditioner took a poop. When you move into a condo, at least it's a shared expense and it has to be voted on. So either way, you're going to have expenses. Sometimes in a single family home, it's so expensive you can't even afford to get it done. So I think there's two ways to look at it. And to understand that if you move into a condo, you could be assessed. Absolutely. It has to be voted on. I think they're going to get a lot more strict on that because of what happened in Surfside down in Miami, because deferred maintenance is not something that condos want to have an issue with moving forward. So there's a lot of talk about these boards and the lack of handling things in condos. But at the same time, if you own a single family home or even a townhome or a villa that's an HOA that maybe you're responsible for the roof, I mean, you could be on the hook for that. So it really depends. And that's why when people go to buy condos, they need to understand, get the minutes, find out if there's chit chat. What have they been talking about at the pool, at the party, over cocktails? Have they been talking about assessments? But it may be one option to get your foot in the door, right, of owning property, if that's your goal.
What do you call a group of Karens hanging out together? An HOA. An HOA.
I do not live in an HOA community.
I do.
Which is rare here, but we're in an older neighborhood. So it's all city. We have to follow the city, but there's no real,
Emmanuel has a question. It says, is it advisable to get a second inspection done on a property during the due diligence if I suspect the first inspector did not do a thorough job, especially with a new build? Yeah, you can hire 4 inspectors. You can continue to go over there. If you have that window of time, you can have as many inspections as you want. You can have the soil tested. You can have a plumber go out there and check out everything. You can have an air conditioner. I've had somebody do this where they hired a inspector, went through the whole entire house and got the inspection report, then went ahead and hired an air conditioning guy to come out and inspect the air conditioning unit, then had a plumber come out to make sure that all the plumbing lines looked good, then hired an electrician to make sure the box was correct. He hired them all to go out there and look at it. Yeah. So you can
do that.
Period. You have all the time in the world. Now you do know that if there's somebody living in that house, you have to book that time with them because they have to get in and out of their own home. And most likely they're not going to want to be there when you're having these inspections done. So make sure you put that in consideration when you're making these appointments.
Yep.
Okay, Eddie, got another questions for us, Eddie? Throw one up on the screen. I'm excited. Thursday is Thanksgiving, Michelle.
I'm super excited.
Me too. I'm doing a turkey. I'm doing all the sides and everything. Oh, look, we want to say thank you to our moderators. Do you know my moderators are the best moderators on the planet? They always keep my chat very
Thank you, moderators.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They show up every single week, spend the whole entire, just over an hour with me.
Oh, that's so cool, though. That's nice. Thank you for doing that. And yes, I'm excited about Thanksgiving. I'm flying up to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. If anybody wants to get a hold of Michelle, she is on Instagram. She is on YouTube. She's got a couple of YouTube channels. She's better than me. She's got a couple of YouTube channels. She is on Facebook. Are you on Twitter? Are you on the Twitter?
Oh, no, I just maintain Twitter.
Yeah, I have an account. I'm not really on it.
No, that's not my thing.
I really like on Twitter. I watch what everybody else says. I don't say anything.
I kind of just share things. Like it's kind of a sharing account. I don't really get involved with it. Although when Instagram goes down, I run over there. Yeah. But yeah, I've got a real estate specific YouTube because somebody here told me that I needed to probably do that. So I do have one that's specific. And I'm on Instagram, but I like my blog, So Boca, so you can find lots there too.
Yeah. So if you're interested in the South Florida real estate market, go over there to see it. There it is. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Eddie was showing everybody where the subscribe was.
Look, Brody's even in that. He's in my
her dogs are in there.
My daughter's my photographer, though. Hallie Alicia is my photog. She's good.
Awesome. Yeah. Michelle, thank you so much for spending your Sunday afternoon with all of us and talking about the Florida market.
Anytime, you are the best. I adore you.
Thank you. And look, if you need a real estate referral in your area, a matter of fact, Michelle's the person I always recommend in South Florida, in the Boca area. You can go ahead and book a referral request with me. And if you leave your phone number, I will personally call you and talk to you about your real estate needs. And I'll get you connected with really cool people like Michelle that know a lot about her specific market. So thank you, everybody. Yeah, Eddie's showing you how to fill it out. Make sure you put your phone number. I always tell people that. They always forget to put their phone number on there. I'm like, I can't call you without a phone number.
I can't. So I need a phone number.
Yeah. So thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you, everybody who super chatted today. I really appreciate that. That was fantastic. That really does help the channel keep going. Happy anniversary, my love, Eddie. Thank you so much for putting up with me for 23 years. I love you very much.
Aw, happy anniversary.
Yeah, look, and nobody knows what Eddie looks like. This gives you a roundabout what he looks like. He kind of looks like that. There he is. He kind of looks
bobblehead. What had hair?
Look, Eddie's dancing. Look at him, Eddie. He's dancing. Look at all his cards.